Greetings, outstanding folks, and welcome back. Jaravan back again. This time, since it has been a while since I've done a video on something other than tinkering around with a trumpet, I thought I'd do something a little bit different this time. I've spent most of my music time over the past 30 plus years on guitar, so I'll be showing some of my acoustic instruments. I'll start with a mandolin. It was the highest pitch of everything. And one thing about a mandolin is considered a soprano instrument because of how high it's tuned. The standard tuning of a mandolin, usually about E5, A4, D4, and G3. And this one has 20 frets on it, so if it's in actual tuning, you'd have the capability of getting up to D7, which is such a high pitch that there's no sustain, just like the 7th octave on a piano. This particular one's set to be plugged into an amp. And for any acoustic instrument, one bit of warning is that if you plug it into an amp, it needs to be one that's made for an acoustic instrument, because if you plug it into a standard electric guitar amp, it's feedback city. And this particular one, I bought it for about 50 bucks at a store in Kansas City. They had it on a clearance rack. It doesn't even have a brand on it. And the strings on it are pretty old, so I've actually got tuned down a step, and I haven't messed with it that much, so I only know 3 chords on it: the C, the G, and the D, and that's it. And the thing about a mandolin, most people I know that play mandolin are just playing chords on it anyway, especially if they're in a country type band or bluegrass band. One example being a group of kids out of Branson named the Petersons. Their youngest sister, Juliana, plays mandolin and does an outstanding job for such a young kid. I think she started when she was like 12 or 13 on the mandolin. Come a long way. Going on to the guitars, I actually have 4 acoustic guitars, but I'm only showing 3 of them because one of my acoustic guitars was one my dad bought in a pawn shop for $25 while I was deployed for the Iraq operation. And because it was so cheap and so old, the body of it and the neck of it have started to separate. So the only reason it's not in a jungle is because where I keep my guitar stored is at the bottom of the pile. So I'll show off the 3 that I do have that are somewhat functional. I'll start off with one that pardon the reach, that I've had for around 15 years. I bought it while I was on one of my annual trips to Texas. This particular trip, I went to Brownsville instead of San Antonio, and the buddy down there and I decided while we were down there to step across the border into Matamoros. This was back before we required a passport. And we found this shop about 4 or 5 blocks from the crossing that had these Mexican guitars. This one is a Tipo Valenciana brand, and it's got a pretty cool Mexican design on it. The strings are fed through the bridge. You don't find too many acoustic guitars these days that don't end up using bridge pins, because one of the things about the bridge pins is if you change out the strings often enough, the bridge pins will break or the bridge will wear out. Last one I had that had used the pins, I couldn't even tune any higher than the key of C. Now this particular guitar, I think it cost me $40, and you get what you pay for. I don't know if it's because the gauge of the strings are too heavy for this, but I was only able to tune this to key of B. And this one only has only has 18 frets on it, so if we're in standard tuning, you'd only get up to C sharp 6. This one I was only able to tune to the key of B because I think it's too heavy gauge. The other issue I had with this guitar is intonation. I get the notes in tune. The chords are out of tune, so intonation problems, like the 12th fret is way up here. So the octaves are actually sharp compared to where they should be. And I don't know whether it's because the strings are, that the fretwork isn't done quite right, but for $40, I can say that I do have a souvenir from Mexico. Going on to the next one. The next one is actually the oldest portable musical instrument I have. And say, Danelectro Convertible, 62 model. This was my mother's guitar. I ended up inheriting from her when she passed away in 1998. It also has, one of the features on it is that it's got a little, this bridge has got a little anchor in it where you just put it through a notch to anchor the strings. An adjustable bridge here so you can get it in tune, get it, the octaves in tune. Standard Danelectro lipstick pickup. It's also set to go electric. And this one, will actually go up to see 15, 17. Has 21 frets, so it'll go up to C sharp 6. And that's actually a pretty decent little guitar. And this thing's staying in the family. It's family heirloom. Going on to the last of the guitars. This one that the newest of the acoustics. I actually traded an Alvarez for because Alvarez had the bridge pins, and it had and so it was, the bridge was wearing out, so I got one specifically for this type of bridge. This is a Takamine brand, which I believe is made in Japan, and pretty cool little guitar. So this one has 15, 17, 20 frets on it, so it'll go up to C6. And it's also set up for acoustic electric. It's interesting. The input jack is also where the strap goes on. Pretty inconspicuous. And it's also got set up where you can tune it, but it requires a 9-volt battery. And the acoustic guitar has got a good sound to it. And one of the things about playing acoustic guitars, when you're used to playing electric guitars, acoustic guitars are a little tougher because they usually use heavier gauge strings than electric guitars. But this is also a handy little guitar, and that's the last of the acoustic guitars. So this concludes my acoustic instrument video. Thanks for watching. All the best.